Which cadences should you be training? Well, the answer is all of them. Let's look at a case study involving strengths and weaknesses. My strengths and weaknesses. Hey, cycling community, this is Steve Grusis, the Cycling Greek. If you're familiar with my videos, you know that I have trouble sustaining fast, flatland pace lines. At a certain point, my legs just can't turn it over, and then I just fall off as everyone else goes ahead of me. Other than doing these occasional once-a-week fast rides, I don't do any sustained big gear strength work. For one training block early in the off-season I did, and that did help, but I got to keep up on this, especially since it's a weakness of mine. So what I decided to do is incorporate big gear work in with my sweet spot work. The first time I do this, which will be this week, I'll probably experiment with doing 5 minutes of big gear and 5 minutes at regular gear, and maybe work my way up to 10 minutes of big gear and 5 minutes of regular gear. I'm thinking and hoping this will help because I'm definitely under the average on this one. My higher cadence is another matter. I do much better with that. It's not that I specifically work on my high cadence anymore. Ever since my AFib, I really haven't. But with the work that I've done before I had my first AFib incident about 6 years ago, and that I tend to do higher cadence more often now, I still have that ability to do that. I tend to use the easiest gear for the situation, and during crunch times that means riding that fine line between aerobic and anaerobic death. Again, if you're familiar with my channel, you may have heard me mention that before. In a crunch time situation, you use higher cadence to keep up with the group as best you can until you start to redline. This is where the heart and lung starts to get overworked. Then you shift down to a lower cadence. You're putting pressure on the muscles, but you're taking pressure off the heart. And you do this until your muscles start to get taxed themselves, where they start to get bogged down. Then you shift back to the higher cadence, and you keep shifting back and forth until the group slows down or until you get dropped. Hopefully when the group slows down. On the Sunday Fast Guy ride that you're watching now, I use high cadence a number of times to keep me connected during crunch times. As we're about to look at our first example, first take note of the graphics in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. The middle item is cadence and the one at the bottom is power. I had been floating around 70 to 85 RPM. And now as we're starting to climb, it's starting to get harder. The power's now going up into the 300s. Well, it was. There we go, 400. At a certain point, my muscles aren't going to be able to maintain that. And so you're seeing right now in the 80s, now I'm climbing it to 100, 110. And we're nearing the top, and I'm using that to survive. Now, if I was to maintain this pace, at a certain point I wouldn't be able to, then I have to go back down to a bigger gear, and my muscles will be rested then. But in this case, it didn't have to happen. Now, I was able to do this because I'm well-versed, I'm a lot more well-versed, I should say, in higher cadence than I am in lower cadence. I have a lot more capacity in my heart and lungs than I do in my muscles. That's why I have to work on that big gear muscular endurance. Same thing here. I have a long ways to go, and I can stress out my heart and lungs a lot more than I can stress out my muscles, and they'll recover faster too. In this example, we have a series of ups and downs, and the guy in front is just hoofing it. Keep an eye on the power and the cadence. It was up to 350, and now the cadence has gone up to well over 100. And it goes down a little bit. I take a bit of a rest, shift back down again, and as I'm going over, it's going over 100 again. And this guy's still pushing it, and I got to keep on it. So now I may be starting to get a little overtaxed, and that's why I shifted down a bit. And so now we're heading into this roller, which I think will be the last series of rollers. And now my cadence is going up over 100, over 110, and we're hitting a little over 120. Using higher cadence in these situations is a survival technique for me. If I stayed in lower gear, I would have been dropped by now. Keep in mind, when I can get out of that higher cadence and go back into lower cadence, then that's what I'm going to do, and thank goodness this guy finally pulled off. We now have the situation where I'm going to take a pull. See where the road curves to the right? That's going to be the top of this little climb. I want to go fast enough so everyone thinks that I'm pulling my weight and they're not going to go past me. It's not that I'm going to put them under stress, just that I'm going to go fast enough. My cadence has already been over 110 in order to accomplish this. As I get to the top, I am looking to pull off. So I'm going far right, so I have a little extra room when they shoot to the inside. My cadence is going down because I'm starting to get a bit tired. Will puts in an attack. If others go with him, that's not the situation I want. Now Dave is starting to go with him. If everyone else goes and I still haven't recovered sufficiently, then it may be that I'm never going to be able to connect with these guys. Fortunately, in my situation, I'm improving each week, and so I'm able to recover a little faster than I was weeks before. And as people slowly go by, I'm able to actually get my speed up to theirs and then start to work my way back. With a higher cadence of 90 plus, I'm able to maintain my power be consistent, and then get on that wheel. The next time I find myself at the front is for 3.5 minutes on this mostly climb, in which I again want to be able to set a pace strong enough where the others aren't inclined to pass me up, and then set their own pace, which is going to be a stronger pace, of course. I'm not going to the extremes on cadences. I'm using moderately high and moderately low and switching off when I need to in order to keep that particular pace. If you look ahead and see how the road curves to the left and goes up, the top of that's where I want to pull off. By using the fine line method to switch off between cadences, I'm able to maintain over 300 watts before I pull off. Remember what I said about increased repeatability and higher cadence. We have about 5 miles to go, and for whatever reason, I'm still feeling pretty good. Good enough to do something stupid like put a lot of extra watts into this next pull. The reason I'm putting in this effort is to, one, see if I can make it to the top still at the front. And whether I can or can't, when they go by me, am I going to be able to latch on to that last rider and stay connected to them? To the question, why should you train with multiple cadences? Because you have to use the right tool for the right job. If you don't, things just get a lot tougher. If you look straight ahead, you'll see the road just start to curve to the left. That's going to be the top. At this point, I'm thinking, if I can make it up there pulling this pace, then I'm going to get up there pulling everybody. The next thing I'm thinking is, I'm just about on the edge. I better pull off now. The group is lined out. English Dave says, hang on, mates. And you know, just to hear that gives me that extra impetus to hang on. And thank goodness my speed is starting to match the others, and then I slip in where I can. After another couple miles, we encounter another sizable bump. I lose connection with a couple of others. We chase, and then I lose connection to them on another little bump. It was a good day. My training plan is working, at least so far. In a future video, I'm going to talk about this training plan and my AFib and how I'm doing with it. I'm going to have 2 Strava activities linked in the description below. The first one is going to be this workout, and the second one is going to be the workout I did 2 days later, where I did 2 by 20-minute big gear threshold intervals. The first at 75 RPM and the second one at 71 RPM. I hope you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it. As always, remember, because it helps the channel, comment, like, subscribe. The Cycling Greek.